Welcome to the Calm Mom Podcast, the show for ambitious women ready to get off the hot mess express. I know you've got a lot going on. You work so hard, you're raising an incredible family, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a certified master life coach, attorney, wife, and mom. And years ago, I was right where you are. I was running a busy law practice while raising a family, and I was on the fast track to burnout. I thought I just needed to be more organized or have better routines, but it was learning how to heal and regulate my nervous system that expanded my capacity to gracefully hold more of this big, beautiful life. You too are worthy of an extraordinary life in and beyond motherhood. Learning to be a calm, anchoring presence in your home and at work is going to be your superpower. If you're here to do the inner work that brings a sense of calm amidst the chaos, I'm here to join you on that journey. Each time you press play, your growth continues. So let's get at it. What's up, you guys? It's Michelle Grosser here. You're listening to the Calm Mom Podcast. Thanks for stopping in today. You guys clicked play on this episode. And I have a suspicion you could probably relate to procrastinating and people pleasing and maybe even perfectionism. And I bet there's been moments where you've thought like, why am I like this? Right? Is this just the way I am? And maybe, it crosses your mind and you're like, I don't know, I've just always been a perfectionist, or I work better under pressure, right? So of course I procrastinate, or I don't mind being the one that does all the things and makes everyone happy because it's my joy, it's my pleasure, it's my personality. But the truth, my friend, is that none of these patterns, procrastinating, people pleasing, chasing perfection, none of these patterns are your personality. They're actually strategies. They are subconscious survival mechanisms that your nervous system has developed over time to keep you safe. And that's what I want to talk about today, because if you have been like me, and there have been seasons in your life, maybe you're in one right now, where you just feel like you're riding that hamster wheel of overwhelm and self-doubt and exhaustion, it's because your brain and your body still think that you need those patterns in order to be loved and accepted and safe and ultimately to survive, right? But here's the thing. What if you don't? Like, what if you didn't need these things? What if you could actually feel loved and secure and safe without running yourself into the ground, right? Without putting off your dreams, without bending over backwards for everyone else. And that's what I want to break down in today's episode. So we're going to talk about why perfectionism and procrastination and people pleasing are actually coping mechanisms, right? These are survival responses. They're not just quirks of your personality, promise you. These are things I thought were parts of my personality too. I'm like, oh, I'm just a type A perfectionist, overachiever who is stuck in people pleasing. Like, that's just how I am. And it's not. Surprise, surprise. And then I want to talk about how these patterns formed, right? Like, where did this come from? Where did we pick this up? When did we start doing this? Hint, hint, in childhood. And it got kind of locked into our nervous system. And then finally, I want to tell you guys how we can start rewiring these patterns, right? How do we start to rewrite this so that we can break free from the burnout and the self-doubt and the chronic stress? Now, if this has already piqued your interest, if this is already resonating, if this is already hitting home, I want to invite you guys to join me in the Calm and Collected workshop that I'm hosting in a few weeks. I'm teaching live on Zoom. I want you to be there. I'm going to walk you guys through how to break out of these cycles for good and finally find that ease and that freedom and that sense of just being grounded that you've been craving. Okay, so here's the thing. These patterns have been running your life, and I want you guys to become more aware, because once we become more aware of our subconscious patterning, why we're doing the things that we're doing, how we're doing the things that we're doing, then we can do something about it, right? Okay, but before we dive in, I would love to ask you, if you have not yet left the Calm On Podcast a 5-star rating or a short review, if you would take the time to do so today, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, maybe even less, I would just be so grateful. The show received a review this week from R. McGowitz, and she says, "The podcast I didn't know I needed. Thank you for your support and sharing your knowledge and tips for being a healthy wife and mom. So thank you for that review. I'm so grateful that you're listening. I'm so grateful you're finding value in the show. And ultimately, yes, I love to hear from you guys, but bigger than that, your ratings and your reviews help the show get out in front of other women who can also benefit from learning how to regulate their nervous system. So if you would partner with me in getting this information out to more women, I would just be so, so grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's talk about how do we get here, right? How did we develop these survival strategies? Because here's the thing, most of us don't even realize that we're running these patterns because they've been so ingrained in us for so long, right? But if we sit down and reflect, it actually goes way back, right? Maybe when we were kids, I think a couple things. One, maybe when we were kids, something happened, right? Some big event, maybe something traumatic, something that we can recall, something that when we think back on, we're like, oh yeah, I remember that was really scary, or that didn't feel good, or I remember that that's when I started doing X, Y, and Z. That might be true for some of you. And I think for a larger majority of us, if we can't look back at our childhood at some big thing happening that really prompted these patterns that we're running today, what's more likely, and what I would venture to guess, is that it was probably an accumulation of these small things that happened over and over and over again when you were young. So I don't know, let's take, for example, if you had parents who had really high expectations for you, right? They expected you to achieve at a really high level. Getting, anything that wasn't an A wasn't acceptable. Getting, being on a team but not being the captain of the team wasn't really acceptable. Being in the play but not being, the lead role wasn't really acceptable. And maybe they weren't overt in those expectations, right? Like maybe they never came out and were like, you weren't the captain of the volleyball team. That's not acceptable. But it may be more likely it was a lot more, like it was insinuated, right? You kind of picked up on it. It was a lot more covert. So for example, if you made the team and so did a sibling of yours, and one of you was picked to be the captain and the other wasn't, right? Maybe the one who got that title was given so much attention, right? And praise and the accolades, and they talked about your sibling to all your aunts and uncles and grandparents and what have you, right? You came home and you got a B and they're like, okay, cool. You came home and you got an A and they're like, that a girl, right? Great job. I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it. And there's this subconscious patterning that's happening, right? That if I want to be loved and accepted and feel secure in my home, then I've got to achieve, right? And that's a lot of pressure for a kid, right? Pressure to perform, and it overwhelms our nervous system. And in that moment, right, whether it was this big event or it was kind of this like low grade pressure over time, regardless, that's stressful to our nervous system. Regardless, our little bodies, our little brains had to figure out how to cope, i.e., how to feel safe, right? And our brain and our body learned something in that moment. So maybe it went something like this, right? If I make myself small, right? If I don't take up a lot of space, if I just kind of stay out of the way, if I make it really easy for mom and dad, if I'm helpful, if I'm always agreeable, then I'm not going to get yelled at. I won't get rejected or scolded. Hello, people pleasing, right? That's how those patterns start. Or maybe it's like this. If I do everything perfectly, right? If I make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed and my bed is made perfectly and my room is clean and I get the good grades and whatever, I won't be teased or judged or ridiculed or punished or what have you, right? Hello, perfectionism, right? Or maybe when it comes to procrastination, like maybe it was this idea of like, if I don't take risks, if I just like put things off, if I continuously hesitate or delay or play small, I don't have to risk failing because that's really scary. I don't have to risk being seen, right? I don't have to risk giving it my all and then it just kind of falls flat. Hello, procrastination. And it's because these strategies worked, you guys. That's why we did them. They served a purpose. They helped keep us safe and they helped us avoid being criticized, or, they got us approval. So what did we do? We're smart. We kept using them, right? We kept using them. And then over time, those coping mechanisms, those strategies to be loved and accepted and approved of and safe just become so automatic that we don't even question them. We don't even realize that we're running that pattern, right? But here's the thing. What kept you safe as a child is now what's keeping you stuck as an adult. And I'm going to say that again because it's so true. And this is like a never-ending thing, right? It's like what kept you safe as a child is now keeping you stuck as an adult. These survival strategies, right? The things that you used to have to rely on in order to feel loved and approved of and safe, they aren't helping you thrive anymore, right? You've grown, you've matured, you're more resourced. You're still relying on these old, outdated patterns, and they're keeping you locked in this cycle of overwhelm and exhaustion and never feeling good enough. And here's the thing, until you bring awareness to them, i.e. kudos for hitting play on this episode today, right? You're bringing awareness to your patterns. Until you start bringing awareness and teaching your nervous system actual safety, right? Not these old patterns of people pleasing and perfectionism and procrastination that bring this like false sense of safety. Until you start teaching your body and your mind, your nervous system, actual safety, you're going to keep repeating these same patterns. I don't care how much personal development work, mindset work, talk therapy, whatever you do, you're just going to feel stuck, right? And this is why, guys, inside of that Calm and Collected workshop I'm going to be teaching, inside of my signature group program, Burnout Recovery Blueprint, we spend time uncovering these stress coping mechanisms, right? Taking a look at these patterns that so many of us have been running forever. And so we can like take the glasses off, right? We can finally see our coping mechanisms for what they are, and we can actually start to choose a different way forward. So let's take a few minutes. I want to, through the end of this episode, break each of these down one by one. So let's start with perfectionism. The fear with perfectionism, right? The underlying fear is a fear of being judged and rejected, right? A lot of us can relate to that in one way or another. Maybe all of us, right? I know I certainly can, right? It shows up, we start something or we won't start something unless we're sure we can do it perfectly, right? Oh yeah, I would love to like start this business or start this side hustle or start this thing in my community. Or, I've always wanted to start a podcast, or I've always wanted to whatever, but we don't do it because we're like, oh, well, I need to like take a course on how to do it first, or I need to like make sure I have all my ducks in a row, or I need to make sure my schedule feels perfectly aligned. And it's like, yo, none of that happens, right? Or we start and then we kind of get stuck in the like editing phase. We try, but then we fix it, but then we see a mistake, but then we re-edit, but then we overanalyze everything we put out into the world, and it's exhausting and we're not making a lot of progress. Or it might show up, we might be taking feedback, critiquing, mistakes so personally. Like someone gives us some feedback and it just cuts so deep. Because for us, that means we're connecting something about our worth, right? And it's a survival strategy, perfectionism, because it's just a way of avoiding that. It's avoiding that pain, avoiding the feedback, avoiding the criticism that we confuse with judgment, right? Because what's happened is that over time, our nervous system has kind of collapsed those two things. It's linked imperfection, i.e. humanity, right? Our humanity. Imperfection, it's linked imperfection with danger. Whether that danger was like punishment or rejection or being teased or made fun of, or just like this feeling that we are not enough, right? We failed. We're not enough. We're not good enough. Our nervous system has linked that with things not being perfect. So instead of allowing ourselves the risk of imperfection, right? And the opportunity and the privilege, frankly, to learn and grow and be human, we try to control everything to avoid the risk of being judged. So what do? Here is how you can start breaking free from perfectionism today. I think part of it is just getting real, like catching yourself when you're in that pattern, right? Catching yourself when you're delaying and hesitating on things because you don't think everything's in order or it's perfect or it's good enough. Catch yourself when you're in over editing mode, right? Maybe you have a presentation to make at work and it's like 2 a.m. and you're still trying to tweak it and fix it and worried that it's not good enough before you just send it out and say good night, right? Maybe it shows up in different ways. Maybe it shows up in your parenting. Maybe it shows up in, I don't know, planning your kid's birthday party. Like, when are you overworking the details just to avoid someone's judgment or criticism? And then how can you like flex the muscle of imperfection, right? It's a muscle. You have to it's not comfortable for anyone to put out something that you know isn't perfect, right? I mean, you guys have probably heard me talk about this, but this is like, this podcast has flexed my imperfection muscle to the point where that muscle is like so strong now, because when I started this 338 episodes ago, y'all know how long it took me to put out that first episode of this podcast? Like, it's embarrassing when I look back because it took me forever. I wrote a script like that I read line by line. If you go back and listen to that first episode, I promise you it's going to sound so different than my episodes now because I had no idea what I was doing. And I knew I was putting out good content, but I wanted it to be perfect. So I recorded it and then it wasn't good enough. So I'd record it again. And I was like, we're getting better, but still not there. I still sound like a robot or whatever, right? I still said too much. I still have awkward pauses. I still like had to clear my throat. I still said all the time. And I would record it again. And then I would sit there with this editing software that I didn't really know how to use. And I would take hours trying to make sure that the sound was like evenly distributed throughout and that I took out all my filler words. And if my voice sounded, I don't know, not perfect in whatever way, right? Then I was trying to modify, and like it would take me days to put out a podcast episode. There was no momentum, right? It was hard for me to make progress, but then it got easier and then it got easier. And then every episode I was putting out, I was like, all right, Michelle, this is just the worst episode you're going to put out. It's okay. The next one's going to be better. And then I would put it out. I would like hit publish and just like regulate my nervous system. And then I would do it again and I would do it again and I would build that muscle. And here's the thing, 338 episodes in, are my episodes perfect? Hell no, they're just not, right? But that's not what I'm chasing. I'm chasing good content. I'm chasing trying to be helpful. I'm chasing trying to give you guys value and things you can put into practice, right? I'm chasing quantity in the sense of like, I can't help anybody if none of these podcast episodes get published. I just can't, right? So if I can get momentum and I can just start busting these out, now they take me start to finish, I don't know, 40 minutes maybe, from like putting down some notes on an outline, sitting down, recording it, adding an intro and an outro, typing up some show notes and putting it out there, right? So I can do a couple a week. But guys, I didn't start that way. I had to really expose myself to the deep discomfort of imperfection and then prove to my nervous system through action, right? Through consistent action, through experience, that it's okay if some people don't like it, right? It's okay if I get feedback. It's okay if I fall flat on my face. It's okay. I'm not going to sit here frozen and avoid all of that risk, right? It's a muscle we've got to flex. Okay, now let's talk about procrastination. What's the fear, the underlying fear with procrastination? It can be a couple things, but the one I want to focus on today, I think, is this underlying fear of not being quote unquote enough, right? And how does that show up? It shows up in so many ways, right? It shows up like putting things off until the last minute, even though we know it stresses us out to be trying to like rush around and get stuff done at the end of the deadline. We wait until quote unquote the perfect time to start something. And guess what, guys? The perfect time never comes. Like, I'm assuming that those of you listening to this podcast probably have kids. But like I hear people, younger couples who don't have kids yet, and I hear them say things like, we're just waiting for the perfect time, or it's just not the perfect time yet. Like, that's a really, big example, but like, is there a perfect time to have kids? I don't know. Are there certainly better times than others? Sure. Is there a perfect time to like turn your world upside down and like not sleep and, worry about things that you never thought you would worry about before? And, whatever the journey of parenthood brings and all the good, right, that it brings to your life also, is there a perfect time for that? Of course not. I don't think there is. And the same is true for smaller things too, right? Like I was talking about earlier. Is there a perfect time to start that new project? Is there a perfect time to, reach out to someone that you've been wanting to reach out to? Is there a perfect time to ask for a raise? Is there a perfect time to quit your job or start a new job? Is there a perfect time to move? Is there a perfect time to do something with your kids that you've been wanting to do, right? Sign them up for something, not sign them up for something. Like, y'all, we wait and that perfect time never comes. And then we look back and we're like, holy moly, I've wasted so much time waiting for that perfect time. Maybe it shows up by just being paralyzed by the thought of trying and putting ourselves out there. So we just delay and procrastinate and put it off and make excuses. And why do we do this? Again, there's a reason why we do all of these things, right? There's a reason why we procrastinate. There's a reason why we people please. There's a reason why we can get caught up in perfectionism. So why do we procrastinate? Well, it's our nervous system's way of avoiding failure, right? If I don't start, I don't have to risk not being good enough. I don't have to risk it failing. I don't have to risk it not going well. I don't have to risk embarrassing myself. I don't have to risk regretting anything, right? If I don't start, I don't have to risk not finishing and then feeling like a failure because I don't finish anything or whatever that internal voice is saying. And our body, our nervous system can kind of get stuck in this freeze response, right? And we're just so convinced subconsciously, right, that avoiding is quote unquote safer than actually doing it. So if you can kind of relate to this procrastination response, man, think of something you're procrastinating on right now, right? One, how can you reframe the risk, right? What's the actual worst thing that could happen? Like, let's go back to my podcast, right? Starting this podcast. Let's say I hadn't started it and I just kept putting it off, right? Oh, I'm running a law firm right now. There's a lot going on. I have really small children. Like, it's just not the right time, right? Oh, I can't start this podcast because I haven't taken a course on podcasting and like, I don't know how to do it, right? I can't start podcasting because I don't have like any of the equipment. Like, I don't even know what kind of microphone to get or like how to get the things I record to the people to listen to them. Like, I can't start a podcast. What if I reframe all of that risk and sit down and ask myself, like, okay, Michelle, but what's the actual worst thing that could happen, right? The actual worst thing that could happen if I started the podcast is that it wouldn't be good. I'd be too overwhelmed by how much time it takes. And I would just stop. Like, I would just put out a few episodes and then kind of quit on it. To me, that's like the worst thing that could have happened. Okay. Is that like the end of the world? Is that a huge risk of my time and financial expenses and whatever? No. Is that embarrassing? Well, only if I let it be embarrassing, right? Is that a failure? Well, it's not. If at that point I decide that's actually not what I want to be doing or how I want to be spending my time or serving my audience or what have you. Can I deal with any of those things? Like, am I still alive after? Yeah, of course I am. I'm good. Okay. Wow. The risk feels a lot different now, right? And then let's get ridiculously small. What's one ridiculously small action step that you can start with today on the thing you're procrastinating about, right? Like, maybe for me with starting the podcast, it was like, all right, I'm going to go on Amazon and I'm going to order a $40 podcasting microphone that plugs into my computer. So that's what I'm going to do today. I can do that, right? There is something small you can start with today that doesn't feel so overwhelming that it's really easy for your ego to be like, we'll get to that when the time is right, right? Go small. Order the mic instead of trying to publish a new podcast episode today, whatever your version of that is, right? And then like the reality is that some of this stuff, guys, if we want to produce, if we want to take action, we really just have to lower the bar, especially initially. Like, can I just get this podcast episode done rather than having it that it has to be perfect, right? And apply that to whatever your scenario is. Can you get the thing done instead of obsessing about it being perfect. Like, can you just get the thing done? Can you set a timer? Can you set an objective measure where you're like, I'm going to work on this for an hour and then it's just going to be done, right? When this feels like it's 80% perfect, then it's just going to be done and I'm not going to touch it, right? I'm going to have a coworker look at it or ask my husband to read it over or what have you. Set yourself a metric to lower the bar. And as you get better and as you gain experience and as you start to be able to resource yourselves in different ways, other coworkers, helpers, employees, assistants, teams, like what have you, you'll be able to grow in that momentum and it will just get better and it'll actually get closer to perfect. It won't ever be perfect, right? It's not a healthy goal, but it'll get better because you're getting the reps in, but you can't get the reps in if you keep procrastinating. Okay. And then finally, people pleasing. What's the underlying fear here? The underlying fear with people pleasing is rejection. It's rejection, right? It's like, I cannot handle if you are disappointed with me. I cannot handle the feeling of having let you down. I cannot handle you not being happy. I just there's so much going on inside of me that feels so unsafe with that what am I going to do? I'm just going to say yes to all these things, even though I don't want to, right? Even though I don't have the bandwidth for it, even though I know it's going to stress me out and who's going to suffer? My kids and my husband, right? Or I feel responsible for keeping everyone else happy. My parents, my in-laws, my adult siblings, the people at work, right? My children, my partner, keeping everyone happy. Holy moly, that's exhausting. Or maybe it shows up like I avoid conflict at all costs, right? Even when that conflict is healthy, even when that conflict is productive, even when that conflict has to happen, it's an investment in the relationship, right? And I'll avoid it at all costs. And that comes at my expense. And why do we do this, right? It's the underlying fear of rejection. People pleasing is how our nervous system learned, again, in childhood, to maintain connection, right? When love, approval, safety, when these things felt conditional. If you make my life easy, I will approve of you, right? If you say yes when I ask you to do things, I will love you or show you love. When those things felt conditional, we adapted. We adapted by meeting everyone's needs but our own. And this is so common. I see it in most of the women that I work with, right? Our body, our nervous system has linked keeping others happy with staying safe. Those things are so intertwined in our subconscious. If I keep everyone happy, then I'm safe. And we've got to do gentle work with our nervous system to prove to ourselves that that's actually not true anymore, right? Maybe it felt true when we were 7 or 12 or 15, but it's not true anymore. So how can we start breaking through this pattern today, right? So many ways. I think one is just that reminder that that's not actually true anymore, right? I'm not responsible for how others feel, right? It is not my responsibility to make sure that no one is disappointed with me or upset or feels like I've let them down. These are just called boundaries, right? That's on them. It's not on me. We can start by pausing before we say yes to things. Like if we're in a pattern of just saying yes to everything, what if you just made a pact with yourself that you're like, for the next, 30 days, 60 days, I'm going to wait one day before I say yes to things, right? When someone asks me to do something, when they ask me to do something for the classroom or at work or for my Bible study group or what have you, I'm going to wait one day before I say yes. Hey, thanks so much for asking me. Let me take a day or so to think on it, pray on it, walk on it, talk to my partner about it, see if I have the bandwidth. Can I get back to you about this in 24 hours? And then give yourself space to decide and check in what you actually, not only what you can handle, but what you actually want, right? It's like building this muscle of actually considering your own needs, putting yourself first in those scenarios before you start to say yes to everything. Okay? So that's what I have for you guys today. And this is the truth. You do not have to live in these patterns, in this survival mode forever, any longer, frankly, right? Because these patterns, they did serve you at one point. There's a reason why we do these things. They served you once, but you're not 9 anymore, right? You're not 12 anymore. You're not 4 anymore. You're so different than when you relied on these coping mechanisms. And now you're still running the same patterns, but these patterns are holding you back, my friend, from living the life that you actually want. So I just want to invite you again, sign up. There's a link in the show notes for the Calm and Collected workshop. It's free. I'm going to be live with you guys on Zoom. We're going to do it over the lunch hour. Let's just gather together for an hour and go on a deep dive of like how to break free from these survival strategies. I want to teach you guys 3 ways that you can bring calm and safety to your nervous system in real time. So when you feel the urge to people please, and when you feel the impulse to procrastinate, and when you want, right, for things to be perfect, like you're starting to notice these patterns, you can pause and you can use one of the strategies I'm going to teach you in this Calm and Collected workshop. And then you can like ground and then make a decision that is informed and not just reactive. So powerful, you guys. Okay, I can't wait to see you guys there. Sign up, save your spot. It's going to be awesome. All right, I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys soon.
If you love Mommy's podcast, leave a review.
If you enjoyed this episode, it would be so awesome if you could take a moment to subscribe and rate the podcast. And if you have just a few more seconds to leave a quick review, they really help to get this podcast out to other moms like you. I read every last review, and trust me, when it's late at night or early in the morning before my kids get up and I'm working on bringing you all of this content, your reviews are what keep me going. Leaving a review is truly the best way you can thank me. And of course, DM me on Instagram. I love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to another episode. Head over to the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at michellegrosser.com, where you'll find free resources and more ways to connect with me. If you love the show, share it with a friend. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.